In the scorching winter of 1922, beneath the limestone cliffs of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, British archaeologist Howard Carter cracked open a sealed doorway that had remained untouched for over 3,300 years. What lay beyond was not merely a tomb, it was a time capsule of divine wrath, gold-drenched ritual, and a curse that would ignite global hysteria. The burial chamber of Tutankhamun, though modest compared to other royal tombs, contained over 5,000 artifacts, including the now iconic solid gold death mask. But it was the inscription etched near the entrance that sent shivers through the excavation team. "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the pharaoh." Skeptics dismissed it as theatrics until Lord Carnarvon, Carter's financial backer, died just months later from an infected mosquito bite that led to blood poisoning. His death was swiftly followed by a cascade of eerie fatalities. Arthur Mace, who helped open the tomb, collapsed and died of pneumonia. George Gould, a friend of Carnarvon who visited the tomb out of curiosity, succumbed to a mysterious fever. Even Carnarvon's dog reportedly howled and dropped dead the same night its master passed. While modern science attributes these deaths to coincidence or natural causes, statistical analyses from the 1930s revealed that of the 22 Europeans known to have entered the tomb within 2 years of its discovery, 13 died within a decade, far exceeding expected mortality rates. Even more chilling were the alleged electromagnetic anomalies recorded near the sarcophagus, compasses spinning wildly, cameras malfunctioning, and later reports of visitors experiencing sudden nausea, dizziness, or overwhelming dread. The Egyptian government, wary of both superstition and Western exploitation, has since restricted access, sealing certain chambers permanently. Yet the question lingers, was the curse a psychological construct, a clever deterrent by ancient priests, or something far more tangible, perhaps tied to the toxic molds and bacteria that thrive in sealed, oxygen-deprived tombs for millennia? In 2002, a microbiological study detected high concentrations of Aspergillus niger and other pathogenic fungi on tomb walls, capable of causing severe respiratory illness in immunocompromised individuals. But this rational explanation fails to account for the pattern of misfortune that continues to haunt those who disrespect the sanctity of KV62. To this day, Egyptian conservators perform silent rituals before entering the chamber, not out of belief, they insist, but out of respect, and perhaps, just perhaps, out of fear. Deep beneath the ancient city of Teotihuacán, in the shadow of the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent, lies a tunnel deliberately filled with over 400,000 tons of volcanic rock and debris around 200 CE. An act not of abandonment, but of ritual sealing. Rediscovered in 2003 after a heavy rainstorm revealed a sinkhole at the pyramid's base, this subterranean passage descends over 60 feet into the earth, terminating in a chamber shaped like a four-petaled flower, aligned precisely with celestial bodies as they appeared 2 millennia ago. Archaeologists from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology cautiously excavated the tunnel using remote-controlled robots, uncovering a trove of offerings so strange they defy conventional understanding. Pools of liquid mercury representing rivers of the underworld, hundreds of golden orbs coated in pyrite dubbed spirit balls, and thousands of ritual objects made from materials sourced from across Mesoamerica. Most disturbing, however, was the discovery of a miniature mountainous landscape within the chamber, complete with artificial lakes and tiny figures of humans and deities, all arranged as if frozen in the midst of an apocalyptic ceremony. Local legends, whispered among Nahua elders, speak of a door to Mictlan, the Aztec underworld, that was closed to prevent malevolent forces from escaping into the world of the living. Modern researchers initially dismissed these tales as myth until radiation spikes and unexplained magnetic fluctuations began registering near the chamber's deepest recesses. In 2017, a team reported that several electronic devices failed inexplicably while mapping the final vault, and one technician claimed to have heard low-frequency humming that induced panic and vertigo. The Mexican government abruptly halted public access and classified portions of the findings, citing preservation concerns. But leaked field notes suggest something more unsettling: the presence of human remains not associated with any known Mesoamerican culture, exhibiting cranial deformities and dental modifications unlike anything in the archaeological record. Even more confounding, carbon dating places some organic materials in the chamber at 300 BCE, centuries before Teotihuacán's rise. The implication is chilling. This was not merely a tomb, but a containment site, built to isolate something so dangerous or sacred that an entire civilization chose to bury it beneath the earth and walk away forever. To this day, the central chamber remains officially unopened. Mexican authorities state that further study is needed, but insiders whisper that certain doors were never meant to be reopened, and that some secrets are protected not by stone, but by silence. Nestled in the salt-drenched mountains of Austria, the village of Hallstatt has long been celebrated as the cradle of Iron Age Europe. But beneath its picturesque alpine charm lies a macabre repository known as the Beinhaus or Bone House, a small chapel filled with over 1,200 human skulls, each meticulously cleaned, sun-bleached, and hand-painted with names, dates, and floral motifs. This practice emerged not from morbidity but necessity. With burial space scarce in the rocky terrain, bodies were exhumed after decomposition, their bones preserved as acts of remembrance. Yet among these serene relics, one skull stands apart, number 385, belonging to a woman who died in 1783. Locals call it Die Flüsternde, the Whisperer, and for centuries those who touch or even stare too long at its cracked forehead report vivid nightmares, sudden chills, and auditory hallucinations of weeping in an unknown dialect. The curse allegedly began when a gravedigger, tempted by rumors of a silver rosary buried with her, secretly re-entered the ossuary at night and pried open her sealed coffin. He was found dead the next morning, his face frozen in terror, though no cause of death was ever determined. Since then, at least 7 documented cases link misfortune to interactions with Skull 385. A 19th-century scholar who photographed it without permission collapsed with unexplained internal bleeding. A tourist in 1987 suffered amnesia after attempting to steal a chip of bone as a souvenir. Even a conservationist in 2009 reported hearing her voice whisper, "Lass mich ruhen," "Let me rest," through her headphones during a routine audio recording session. Scientific investigations have yielded baffling results. Thermal imaging reveals that Skull 385 consistently registered 2 to 3 degrees cooler than ambient temperature, even in sealed display cases. Spectroscopic analysis detected trace residues of an unidentified organic compound on its surface, possibly linked to the embalming methods used during the Habsburg era, though no records of such a substance exist. More disturbingly, ground-penetrating radar beneath the Beinhaus floor has uncovered a hidden subchamber untouched since the 1600s, which local priests refuse to allow excavated. Church archives cryptically reference the penitent sinner whose soul was bound by oath, suggesting the woman may have been excommunicated for heresy or involved in forbidden alchemical rites.
To this day, the Hallstatt parish enforces a strict rule: no flash photography, no touching, and never speak her name aloud. Visitors who disregard the warning rarely return, and those who do often donate anonymously to the church, seeking absolution for a crime they can't quite explain.
4. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang, Mercury Rivers and the Emperor's Undying Wrath. Beneath the earthen mound near Xi'an, China, lies the greatest unopened tomb in human history, the final resting place of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China and the architect of the Terracotta Army. Ancient texts describe a burial complex so vast it mirrors the cosmos, ceilings inlaid with pearls representing stars, floors embedded with rivers of flowing mercury to simulate China's great waterways, and a coffin suspended in magnetic levitation at the center of it all. This is not myth. In 1981, soil sampling around the 76-meter-high tumulus revealed mercury concentrations hundreds of times above normal, corroborating 2,200-year-old accounts by historian Sima Chen. Yet despite decades of non-invasive scanning, the central chamber remains untouched, sealed by layers of compacted earth, jade plugs, and mechanical booby traps described in Han Dynasty records as crossbows that fire automatically on intrusion. The Chinese government has repeatedly refused excavation, citing insufficient technology to preserve organic materials, but whispers among archaeologists suggest a deeper fear: that the tomb is not just protected by engineering, but by something far older and more volatile. Local lore in Lintong County warns that disturbing the emperor's sleep invites black wind, a sudden, icy gale that extinguishes flames and causes hallucinations of armored soldiers marching through the night. Several workers involved in early radar surveys reported nightmares of being dragged into underground corridors by skeletal hands, and one team member vanished in 1993 after claiming he heard the emperor speaking in metal tones. More concretely, geomagnetic anomalies detected beneath the mound fluctuate in patterns that defy geological explanation, sometimes aligning with solar flares or lunar eclipses. Some researchers hypothesize that Qin's alchemists, obsessed with immortality, may have infused the tomb with psychoactive compounds or resonant crystals designed to induce trance states or paranoia in intruders. The emperor himself died in 210 BCE while seeking the elixir of eternal life, poisoned by mercury-laced immortality pills. His obsession did not end with death. Imperial edicts ordered that all artisans who built the tomb be buried alive to keep its secrets. To this day, no human has set foot in the central vault. Satellite imagery shows increased military presence around the site, and all drone flights are banned within a 5-kilometer radius. The official stance remains: we will not open it until we can do so without violating the sanctity of history. But the truth may be simpler. Some doors are sealed not to keep people out, but to keep something in.
5. The Forbidden Vault of Padmanabha Swami Temple and the Curse of the Serpent God. In the heart of Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, the Padmanabha Swami Temple stands as a bastion of divine mystery and immeasurable wealth, home to what is widely considered the richest religious treasury on earth. In 2011, a Supreme Court-ordered inventory of its vaults revealed staggering treasures: gold thrones, jewel-encrusted idols, sacks of diamonds, and ancient gold coins totaling an estimated value exceeding $20 billion. Yet despite this revelation, one chamber, Vault B, remains stubbornly sealed, protected not by locks, but by an iron grating fused shut with a ritual known as Naga Bandham, or the serpent's knot. According to temple priests and centuries-old palm leaf manuscripts, Vault B is guarded by 2 colossal cobras made of pure gold, coiled around a divine idol of Vishnu in his reclining form. More ominously, the texts warn that any attempt to open the vault without performing a specific tantric ritual will awaken the Kala Sarpa, a primordial serpent deity whose wrath brings plague, famine, and national collapse. The curse is not taken lightly. When the royal family of Travancore considered opening Vault B under court pressure, senior priests staged a fast unto death, and astrologers warned of catastrophic planetary alignments. Even the Archaeological Survey of India, after limited sonar scans, reported inexplicable heat signatures and metallic echoes deep within the chamber, consistent with massive gold deposits, but also with structures that should not exist in an 8th century temple foundation. Then there is the matter of the door itself. Attempts to drill or cut through the iron grating in the 1930s reportedly caused all tools to shatter, and 2 engineers fell violently ill. One died within weeks of unexplained organ failure. Modern X-ray fluorescence tests detected an anomalous alloy in the grating containing traces of iridium and other rare elements not used in ancient India. The temple's current custodians insist the vault must remain closed until the arrival of a prophesied spiritual figure known as the Divya Jyoti, who alone possesses the knowledge to perform the unlocking ceremony without invoking divine retribution. In 2020, during a failed legal push to force entry, a sudden unseasonal storm flooded the temple courtyard, damaging court documents and halting proceedings, a coincidence many locals interpreted as divine intervention. To this day, Vault B stands as a silent nexus of faith, fear, and forbidden knowledge. The Indian government has quietly withdrawn all demands for access. After all, some treasures are not meant to be counted, but protected.
Beneath the sun-baked streets of Rome, the catacombs of St. Calixtus stretch for over 12 miles, a labyrinth of early Christian burials, martyrs' tombs, and subterranean chapels dating back to the 2nd century. Yet deep within this sacred necropolis lies a section known only to a handful of Vatican archivists. Corridor Lambda, a sealed tunnel walled off in 325 CE during the First Council of Nicaea. According to fragmented Vatican records declassified in 1984, this passage once led to the burial chamber of Pope Hippolytus, a theologian later declared both heretic and saint, and was deliberately entombed after church officials discovered what they described as doctrines too dangerous for the faithful. For centuries, the corridor remained forgotten until a 1963 seismic survey detected a hollow chamber emitting faint electromagnetic pulses. When a team of Jesuit archaeologists attempted limited excavation in 1971, all photographic film was inexplicably fogged, and 3 team members suffered acute paranoia, one leaping from a 2nd-story window shouting that the walls were watching. The project was immediately classified under the Holy See's secret archives. Declassified correspondence reveals that the chamber contained not only Hippolytus's sarcophagus, but a cache of pre-Nicene Gnostic texts written on gold leaf, including a heretical gospel that described Christ not as divine, but as a vessel for an ancient celestial intelligence. More disturbing were the skeletal remains of 7 individuals interred in unnatural positions, fused together as if petrified mid-ritual, their bones coated in a resinous substance that defied chemical analysis. Carbon dating placed them between 180 to 220 CE, yet their dental isotopes suggest origins as far as Persia and Egypt, hinting at a clandestine trans-Mediterranean sect operating within the early church. The Vatican has since reinforced the barrier with concrete and lead, and all access requires papal authorization, granted only twice since the 1970s, both times during conclaves of extreme theological crisis. Local Roman folklore warns of the whispering dead beneath San Callisto, and elderly residents claim that on the eve of ecumenical councils, the ground above the catacomb vibrates with a low harmonic hum. The Church denies any supernatural claims, attributing the phenomena to natural gas and psychological suggestion. Yet the truth may lie in what Hippolytus knew, and why the world's oldest institution chose to bury it forever beneath stone, silence, and the weight of orthodoxy. In the steamy jungles of Chiapas, Mexico, the Temple of the Inscriptions rises like a stone sentinel over the ancient Maya city of Palenque. Beneath its summit, after decades of speculation, archaeologist Alberto Ruiz-Lhuillier discovered in 1952 the intact tomb of Kinich Janab Pakal, Pakal the Great, a 7th-century ruler whose sarcophagus lid would ignite one of the most enduring mysteries of the ancient world. The massive stone slab, weighing over 5 tons, depicts Pakal reclining atop a complex arrangement of symbols, a skeletal maw below, celestial serpents above, and his hands manipulating what some interpret as control levers. Mainstream archaeology identifies the scene as Pakal's descent into the underworld, Xibalba, guided by divine ancestors. But since the 1960s, alternative researchers, most notably Eric von Daniken, have argued the imagery resembles a seated astronaut inside a rocket, complete with exhaust flames and a helmet-like headdress. Whether or not one accepts the ancient astronaut theory, the tomb itself exudes an undeniable aura of the forbidden. From the moment the burial chamber was opened, team members reported persistent headaches, equipment malfunctions, and vivid dreams of falling through star-filled voids. Ruiz-Lhuillier himself died just 4 years later under unexplained circumstances, and 2 assistants developed rare neurological disorders linked to unknown environmental exposure. More troubling, during the 1970s, infrared scans of the tomb walls revealed hidden inscriptions beneath layers of plaster, glyphs that do not conform to known Maya script and contain astronomical data referencing star systems not visible to the naked eye. These passages were never published. Mexican authorities cited conservation instability, but insiders allege the glyphs describe a celestial event tied to a return in the 21st century. Then there was the matter of the red cinnabar dust that coated Pakal's remains, a mercury-based mineral the Maya associated with resurrection. When samples were removed for study, they allegedly emitted low-level radiation far exceeding background norms. The tomb was resealed with additional barriers in 1998 after a tourist fainted and claimed to have seen Pakal's eyes open. Today, access is restricted to a handful of researchers annually, and all photography of the sarcophagus lid's underside is prohibited. The Maya elders of Palenque still perform silent vigils at dawn, leaving offerings of corn and jade, not to honor Pakal, but to keep him sleeping. For they believe the glyphs do not depict a journey to the afterlife, but a warning. The vessel is not a tomb, but a stasis chamber, and its occupant is not dead, but waiting.
8. The buried shrine of Göbekli Tepe and the watchers beneath the earth. On a windswept hill in southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe stands as a monument that rewrote human history. Dated to 9,600 BCE, 6 millennia before Stonehenge and 7 before the pyramids, its massive T-shaped pillars, intricately carved with foxes, snakes, vultures, and faceless humanoid figures, suggest that complex ritual architecture preceded agriculture, not followed it. But the true enigma lies not in what's above ground, but in what was deliberately buried beneath it. Around 8000 BCE, the entire site was systematically backfilled with tons of debris, as if its builders sought to erase it from memory. Why would a civilization go to such lengths to inter its most sacred space? Local Kurdish legends offer a chilling answer. The stones mark the prison of the Grigori, the Watchers, fallen angels described in the Book of Enoch, who descended to earth, taught forbidden knowledge, and fathered monstrous offspring. Archaeologists long dismissed such tales as folklore until excavations in Enclosure D revealed a pillar,
Pillar 43, bearing a vulture holding a hollow disc in its wing, interpreted by some as a celestial map of the sky as it appeared during the Younger Dryas impact event, circa 10,950 BCE. More unsettling are the subterranean acoustic anomalies detected beneath the central enclosures, low-frequency resonances that induce dizziness, nausea, and a sensation of being watched. In 2017, a team using ground-penetrating radar discovered a vast geometric void 40 meters below the main plaza, too large and too regular to be natural. When a borehole camera was lowered, it captured fleeting glimpses of worked stone walls and what appeared to be a second layer of T-pillars, but the feed cut out after 37 seconds amid a burst of static and an unexplained temperature spike to 60 degrees Celsius. All attempts to drill further were abandoned after 3 workers reported shared hallucinations of tall figures with no eyes standing in their rooms at night. Turkish authorities have since restricted excavation permits, and the German Archaeological Institute, which led early digs, quietly ceased publishing raw data after 2013. Even more cryptic are the recurring symbols, the hooded ones, depicted on multiple pillars with hands over their stomachs as if containing something within. Some researchers believe these represent priest kings who underwent ritual containment of knowledge so dangerous it had to be buried, both in earth and in mind. To this day, no one knows what lies in the chamber beneath Göbekli Tepe, but the builder's message is clear. Some truths are not lost, they are interred on purpose.
Beneath the Abbey of Saint Remy in Reims, France, where Clovis I was baptized in 496 CE, uniting Frankish tribes under Christianity, lies a crypt older than the current structure, its entrance bricked shut since the French Revolution. Officially, it is listed as structural reinforcement. Unofficially, it is known among esoteric historians as the Vault of Dagobert, named after the 7th century Merovingian king whose tomb was mysteriously moved and possibly emptied during the 17th century. The Merovingians, long mythologized as descendants of a sacred bloodline, ruled with an aura of divine right so potent that even after their deposition by the Carolingians, legends persisted that their true heirs remained hidden, protected by secret societies. In 1943, during the Nazi occupation, SS officer Otto Skorzeny, acting on orders from Heinrich Himmler's Ahnenerbe, attempted to excavate beneath the abbey, convinced the crypt held proof of Aryan lineage tracing back to Christ himself. The dig was abruptly halted after 2 workers vanished and a third went catatonic, muttering about eyes in the walls and blood that flows upward. Post-war French authorities filled the shaft with concrete, but declassified intelligence files revealed that radiation readings from the site exceeded normal levels for over a decade. Then, in 1988, a team of independent archaeologists using muon tomography detected a small, lead-lined chamber directly beneath the old royal ossuary. Within it, they inferred the presence of organic material, possibly human remains, and a metallic object shaped like a chalice or reliquary. Permission to investigate was denied by the French Ministry of Culture, which cited religious sensitivities. However, leaked correspondence between Vatican and French ecclesiastical officials refers to the site as Custodius Sanguinis, the guardian of blood, and warns against reawakening the sleeping lineage. Local monks still perform an annual midnight rite on All Saints' Day, placing black candles at the sealed entrance and reciting psalms in reverse order, a practice with no basis in Catholic liturgy.
More ominously, every individual who has publicly advocated for opening the crypt since 1945 has met with premature, often bizarre ends. A historian drowned in a bathtub with no water in it, a genealogist was struck by lightning during a clear sky, and a documentary filmmaker's footage was found melted into a single silver disc. The Abbey of St. Remy remains open to tourists, but the eastern transept, directly above the sealed crypt, is always under renovation. Some doors, it seems, are not locked to keep people out, but to keep a legacy buried.
South of Cairo, at the necropolis of Saqqara, the step pyramid of Djoser, designed by the genius architect Imhotep, rises as the world's first monumental stone structure. But hidden beneath its layered mastaba lies a network of tunnels stretching over 5.7 kilometers, most still unmapped, where the ancient Egyptians interred not just royalty, but forbidden knowledge. Of particular dread is the so-called Black Shaft, a vertical passage sealed with granite plugs and inscribed with inverted hieroglyphs, symbols written backward, a technique reserved for binding malevolent forces. According to fragmented Ptolemaic texts, this shaft leads to Imhotep's own secret chamber, where he stored papyri detailing celestial mechanics, healing rituals using sound frequencies, and a warning about the red star that drinks cities. Imhotep, later deified as a god of medicine and wisdom, was said to have foreseen a cosmic cycle of destruction and encoded countermeasures within his tomb. When a joint Egyptian-Japanese team attempted limited exploration in 1992 using fiber-optic cameras, they recorded temperatures inside the shaft plunging to -10 degrees Celsius despite ambient desert heat, and captured fleeting images of stacked ceramic jars sealed with bitumen, consistent with descriptions of memory vessels from Greco-Roman accounts. The feed ended when the camera was crushed by an unseen force. 3 weeks later, the lead engineer died of cardiac arrest while muttering coordinates that corresponded to no known location on Earth. Egyptian authorities immediately classified the shaft under State Security Decree 14A, and all subsequent excavation permits were denied. Then, in 2007, satellite thermal imaging revealed a heat signature deep below the pyramid, pulsing in 72-hour intervals, suggesting either geothermal activity or something far more anomalous. Local Bedouins refused to camp within a kilometer of the site after dark, speaking of the whispering sands and shadows that move against the wind. Most chilling of all, a 12th century Arab historian recorded that Caliph al-Mamun, famed for breaking into the Great Pyramid, sent a team into Saqqara's depths and ordered the entrance resealed after one man returned screaming that Imhotep still walks and his eyes are stars. To this day, the Black Shaft remains closed. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities states that preservation requires patience, but the truth may be that some knowledge is too potent, too dangerous, worthy not of study, but of eternal silence. For the curse of Imhotep is not death, but revelation, and some truths, once known, cannot be unknown.